Democrats also. We've got an entire panel full of both legislators as well as local government. But the idea today was to try to figure out strategies in the best way possible to deal with the many significant issues that are found on US 395 as we've seen recently. I think one of the things today, because I will get this wrong, could I just get everybody that serves in public office to stand up so we can celebrate our dignitaries here? Anybody in public service at all, if you could stand up, I'd like to give you a round of applause. So thank you very much for your service. Thank you. And I think it's emblematic of how important of an issue this is, that many people show up and so many partners. The city of Pasco, I know, is here and represented very well. A lot of our partners here today, fire districts. The Washington State Patrol is here. One of the things that the panel had asked me was that while we talk about some really, really heart-wrenching issues that have taken place on 395, that we stay away from any partisan politics and that we look towards the future of what we can do collectively as a group in one room to try to maximize the amount of voice that we have with all the partners, whether it be federally or state. And so I'll ask that you do that we keep it within the parameters of being civil and talking to one another in a way that we can benefit as we move out of this workshop. Also, just to let you know, and this is just a rule of thumb that most people don't know and they don't get to cover, state agencies, a lot of times state senators' offices and representatives' offices, they're just not allowed to speak. They're here in a listening capacity. So if you're looking for some sort of engagement or anything like that, that's not the time or place. Today we're really here to talk about what we can do constructively and collaboratively on US 395. So that's going to be the end of my statements, but I would like to turn it over to our panel. And then this right here, this probably looks different because I've got a microphone pointing towards you and not towards me, and you can still hear me. So I've got a pocket microphone, but if you have a question, by all means, feel free to come on up to the microphone, say your piece, make your comment or your question, and then we've got a fair amount of written questions and comments from longtime community members that the panel, I think, would like for me to read a couple of those as well. So with that, I just think I should open it up, and Senator Dozier, I know that you're on the end and I'm picking on you there, but if you wouldn't mind leading us off, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I actually didn't think I was going to be sitting up at the head table. I had a nice comfortable spot back there, and I got pulled up here. But I want to give you my long perspective of understanding this issue. I think probably we have two of the most dangerous intersections in at least now the 16th district that since we've been redistricting. One of them is the one in question today going on 395, and the other one that we've been trying for quite some time to get funding for is Tank Farm Road, where we've had some fatalities in the last year also there. I think this is a great opportunity to hear from the people. It's a really tough situation when I was looking at the statistics that came out of how many deaths had occurred there in the last 10 years. So we have a major problem that really ought to, I think, I hope will drive some type of a fixture for that stretch of 395. And I know that we are going to do what we can diligently over in Olympia to try to push some of these things forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Dozier. And I didn't prepare to sit up front either, but look, I really dressed accordingly, didn't I? So, no, I'm teasing. Senator Dozier was just going to kind of blend in with the woodwork and just sit here as well, and we invited him up because I think it was really important that we have any of the elected officials that are working on so many of these issues that they need to be there. So I'm Representative Mark Clicker. I represent the 16th District. The wonderful thing that you have in this community is that you have representatives, senators, legislators in the 8th, the 16th, the 14th, and even the 15th district, that we work together and we do what we can to find a solution. It's really kind of a unique area because you don't find that legislation and a common relationship that you have in the rest of the state. So you're very fortunate, and Tri-Cities and the whole region here is it's just great to have all of you and everybody here, and it shows that by the attendance that we have. Sadly, we're here trying to find a fix for that section of highway, and really that section of highway does begin right there at the Snake River, at Tank Farm Road and A Street. But so many people are traveling on 395, and they're traveling all the way up into Eltopia. And as we see the growth incrementally growing, and we see more traffic. You know, it used to be that when Highway 12 all the way from Walla Walla to Pasco was just a two-laner, a lot of people took the way to Spokane via Colfax, sometimes through the Snake River country. But as we are improving, and we have one more phase, it's a four-laner, and it's going up. It's actually quicker to go through King City and up in that area. So that adds to traffic. We're putting in more warehouses. We're putting in more, Dairy Gold went out there. There's a number of things. We understand that the Colville tribe is looking at putting in a casino. So we're going to keep adding to traffic. Sadly, our solutions are two things. It takes forever, and it takes money. And sadly, the state of Washington really now doesn't have any money. We are financially strained both in our operating and our transportation budget. There is no money. I sit on the Transportation Committee in the House. I'm on the Joint Transportation Committee in the House and Senate. And they're trying to find ways, and we have to understand most of that money goes over to the west side, over to that population. So we do what we can to find solutions to take care of the people within our areas. So I go back, and I'll finish up and hand it off to Senator Torres, because we'll talk more. Senator Torres and I are working currently on short term, and I can explain that a little later on. But currently working on short term to where we can get to a long term. And long term is what costs millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it goes up every single year. We do have the Department of Transportation here. They're sitting here to listen. Thank you very much for making it. They're working hard to make these solutions, make solutions and make them work. We're fortunate to have, and they're here to listen. There's nobody going to speak. We do have the Washington State Patrol here, Captain Wilson. She'll probably say a few things. Really appreciate having them here as well. It is a concern, and we're going to fix it, but it's going to take time. Even with a short-term solution, it takes a long time to get a short-term fixed, but we're working on it, and we're here to listen.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It is very much appreciated because we all know you have busy lives as well. It's 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, and I know kids get out early today from school. Nikki Torres, State Senator for the 15th. I represent now Yakima and Benton County. I've been redistricted out, and I'm sure you've all seen that on the news as well. Call it the floating 15th. But I grew up living in North Pasco off of the Clark Addition area, and frequently use Self-Landing Road to cross over to get to the Country Mercantile, or when I have to go to Spokane for my day job. And I frequently use that route at least, I would say once a week, heavily between spring and summer, and a little bit in the early fall, but usually after that, I tend to avoid the area. I usually try to find alternate routes. When I know that during peak times, when you have a lot of traffic in that area, I try to gauge it and go through Sagemore, or I find another excuse and go up and around Oregon to get on 395. So I completely avoid it, and I know many of you do too, because we felt the impact, we felt the strain there, and fatalities. I would like that we don't have those anymore because it affects many, many families. And we've been working very collaboratively here, as you heard as Representative Clicker mention. Him and I have both been working on some legislation that, of course, it's not going to be a permanent fix, but it's going to be something that's not going to break the bank, something that we can do in the meantime that'll help. I know it's going to feel more like a Band-Aid, but that's not what we want it to be. We want it to be something temporary. Meanwhile, Olympia gets their math straight, because we found out that in Olympia, math is really hard, and they like to spend. So we are in a deficit, and we're not looking forward to this budget year that's coming up, the supplemental budget year. But we are working very hard, and we try to work collaboratively with everyone. Yeah, as you heard, the 8th, the 9th, the 15th, 14th, the 16th, we all work very well together to represent our areas, our districts, and especially the corridors that we're talking about here when it comes to safety. So we will continue to work on that, and we are very appreciative that you are here to speak up, and we want to hear your ideas as well. So thank you again for being here, and we look forward to this continuing conversation.
Thank you, Senator Dozier, Representative Clicker, and Senator Torres for being here today. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Franklin County Commissioner Stephen Bauman, and my comments about what we're here to discuss today is, while this is not a Franklin County road, it is a Franklin County concern. It is our community, and thank you to our state and federal partners that have been having this conversation with us. In discussing this section of 395 and Highway 12, I think there's a couple of different components that we need to be aware of. I think there's short-term opportunities to help make it safer, and then there's a longer-term solution. As they described, it's going to take money to do that. We've asked our federal partners as well as our state partners to help with that, and I don't know what the solution is, but we're here to think about those today and discuss ideas. And as we have this discussion, there's a number of other things that weigh into this to, in some cases, make it much more expensive. Where 182 goes over the railroad tracks just down the road here, from there going north, it's 21 miles to the next grade-separated intersection with the railroad. And so there's 21 miles to go before the ag community can come out and access Highway 395. So when we talk about these intersections, it's more than just an intersection at the highway in some of these cases. When we talk about Eltopia, we talk about Sagemore, there's immediately adjacent to 395, there's a mainline railroad. And so adjacent to the railroad, then there's some wetlands and a drainage ditch. And so it's more than just discussing an intersection on the highway. There's other things to be considered along the way too. So in some of these intersections, it's very, very expensive, the fixes. And so looking forward to the efforts that are underway for some short-term opportunity, and then looking down the road, look forward to coming up with some long-term fixes. So.
And two, I want to thank our representatives and senators for being here. This is a very important topic, as you can see the audience that we have out here and the concerns that we have. But it's just not 395. Highway 17, the deadliest highway in the state of Washington right now. What's causing this is the fact that we have a robust farm community that's trying to stay alive in this economy. And we have farm equipment that we must move up and down the road. We commissioners, we can't control 395, we can't control 17, but we can control Glade Road and Taylor Flats. And I have been talking for 2-3 years now about pullouts for farm equipment to get off the road to let the cars go by. I just got behind a tractor with a rotavator the other day, passed it, it was going south, I was going north on Taylor Flats, and it had traffic backed up from Alder Road to Birch Road. People get impatient and then they do things that aren't very wise. For the solution of 395, there's a lot of cost in overpasses, frontage roads. But as I traveled to Canada to fish out on Vancouver Island, one thing that would be a very realistic fix at this time with our budgetary problems would be lights on the freeway at every one of those crossings. and a light a mile before it to blink when that light is going to turn. So you start slowing down. That's what they have in Canada. It would be an easy fix, a very inexpensive fix. It would slow down traffic without extra patrols. We need a solution now. We're losing people. And the near misses out there, we can't even count them. And I've had phone call after phone call on this. A guy witnessed a wreck. What happened was a truck was traveling north. It took the deceleration lane, but there was another car in the blind spot from the person at the stop sign couldn't see going north. As they pulled out, when that truck showed it was turning, there was an accident. So lights would be an answer, and it wouldn't be that expensive. And we should take them clear to Eltopia, because after Eltopia, there's overpasses. This is just my thought and people talking to me of how we could solve this now without the expense of overpasses, clover leaves, and the rest. I want to thank all of you for being here, because my wife is on the EMT. She goes to these wrecks. It's affecting our community. So with that, Mr. Danzel, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you all for your words, and I guess I didn't do a real great job of explaining this originally, but if you would like to come up and ask a question, the microphone is here. It'll be turned on. Go ahead and ask your question, make your statement. In the meantime, panel, we have a list of statements that have already been made, and if they get to the point where, oh, pardon me, Senator Binky, welcome, sir. Yes, welcome, Senator Binky. Captain Willis? Yeah, okay, she's with us, okay. Yeah, Senator Binky, would you like to add anything to the discussion? Not to put you on the spot?
Make sure this is on. Good morning. Sorry I'm late, a little busy, but I guess my initial comments, we're working with Representative Clicker as well as Senator Dozier and really Senator King from the Senate side. And transportation is a big priority for us in the Tri-Cities. Coming from the 8th District and growing up here, I know what these issues are. Having driven this corridor for so many years over a lifespan, we do need to fix this thing. Working with the Kennewick City Council, BFCOG, as well as regional efforts to making sure this is a priority, I think is our focus today. And with that gathering of background helps us with the state level to ensure that we have a priority in the state to go after the funding, get design, get the surveys in place to make sure we can get this a safety issue that matters throughout the state, and that we could fight for within the budget discussions we're having. Even though they're a tough year, we can get cities and counties behind it. And you see that by the impacts that people are here this morning. We're willing to work with our city managers, city councils, make sure we have the right decision put in place. But if it needs to be, this is a tough decisions we have to do, we need to make those now to make sure we can stop this from happening in the future, because too many deaths are happening in this corridor, too many times that we see this in the news, too many times that our families are impacted by this. And this resonates with me and my family because we know a lot of people who have been impacted by this personally. So that's a couple initial comments. And I'm willing to back up whatever and work with Representative Clicker and them as a lead, because I know as the 8th District, we have a lot of stuff in the corridor, transportation efforts, our ag community. But at the end of the day, these are our families, these are our friends, these are our personnel that are being impacted. And it's really us here in our community that we need to solve this problem. We need to solve it pretty soon.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you. The panel would like me to ask for the State Patrol Captain Wilson to possibly come up and make a few comments. And while she makes her way up here, I would just like to welcome Ashley Stubbs from Congressman Newhouse's office. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. And then panel, what I was thinking is we'll have folks line up, kind of give you their thoughts, and then if there's a kind of a downtime, I'll read from the statements from folks that they wanted me to parlay to you. Does that sound good? Very good.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you guys can see me. We just want to say thank you so much for inviting us. You know, every one of these collisions impacts us, obviously. especially the serious injury and fatality collisions. None of them is any more egregious than the other for us. So no matter who is involved in the wreck, if there was an arrest made out of it, if it was, an impaired driver, or if it was a distracted driver, they're all the same to us. Every one of them is preventable. So it's for us, we don't see it as a roadway problem. It's a driver problem. It's a distracted driver problem. There's way more distractions in cars now than there was back when the roadway was built. There's way more traffic. I came over here from the west side of the state in 2010. The traffic here is exponentially grown since I've been here. Lots more distractions, lots more vehicles, the agriculture work out here, the farm vehicles. Not so much a roadway problem, and it's not an enforcement problem. We're not going to be able to enforce our way out of this. It's a driver education. Yes, can we change things to make it more prominent about what needs to happen, look both ways, lights, this, that, whatever? Then are we making too many more distractions? So we're open to hearing anything that anybody can think of. One person I would like to bring up, just because she's got a lot of great ideas, she's our traffic safety, Washington Traffic Safety Commission liaison, Jen Dorsett. She works very closely with us, especially in some of our corridors where we have a lot of these type of incidents. And we'll ask her to say a couple things as well.
Surprise! Jennifer Dorsett, I work for Washington Traffic Safety Commission. I am the Target Zero manager for both Benton and Franklin County. So I work with all 9 law enforcement agencies in our region. We're doing a lot around traffic safety in our community already, but I think one message that's lost on all of us a lot is that traffic affects every single person, and it's one of the only things that does. And so I think it's really important to recognize that right away. Traffic affects you whether you're a driver, a rider, a walker, whatever, right? It's one of those only things that connects us all. And so I think one thing I can tell you guys are all super passionate about this particular issue, but we all need to help our fellow drivers know that we are a community of drivers. And so we can't just be driving for ourselves. We have to be aware there's other people out there on the road as well, and remind folks to go the speed limit, and remind folks to not be distracted, and remind people to put their seatbelts on. Know that we are addressing 10 major traffic issues in our community, and this is just one of the over 35 deaths that's happened in the past 3 years. And so know that we're passionate about all of those and preventing any future ones. I'm a preventionist, so I work to get to Target Zero. Target Zero is our target for deaths in your home. And I think that's super reasonable. And I think it should be everybody's target. And so we aren't gonna get there just by changing the infrastructure. It's a safe systems approach in Washington State, which means that we are not just going to change something by adding a bridge. We need to all be doing things like communicating about traffic safety. We're educating our young people. We're working with our elderly drivers. We're getting information out about what we're doing. We are doing enforcement. All of our agencies participate in dedicated enforcement for all these problem areas. But we also have a task force. We have a coalition working towards what are we gonna do about traffic safety in our community. I do see some faces in here that I know, and so I know that they already participate with that, but know that you have an opportunity to do more. And so I welcome every single person who wants to participate in traffic safety in our community to come and help make change in the community that you wanna see. So that's just some of the stuff that we do.
Pardon me there, Kai, I'm sorry.
Is there anything I missed?
No, but I will finish by introducing the rest of my group that's here. Lieutenant Dustin Drought, he's the lieutenant here in the Tri-Cities. He covers 6 counties in the district. His peer lieutenant up in Yakima covers Yakima County. He's got the other 6 all the way over to Asotin County and down to Oregon. Trooper Daniel Mosqueda, who you guys probably recognize as the L Protector Trooper, he recently transitioned into our district PIO, so he's our public information officer for the whole district, including Yakima County. And Trooper Carlos Mata is the new L Protector. He's taken over the program, so we wanted to bring those guys here specifically so they weren't getting third-hand information when they start doing public safety announcements. So they would get it directly right here, right firsthand knowledge about what was being talked about today. So that's why we wanted to bring the whole team.
Thank you so much. I would be remiss if I didn't, with a couple of folks that have arrived and also receiving a statement from Congressman Baumgartner, but I thought I would open it up and see if Tony Ball from Senator Patty Murray wanted to make a statement, or are you cool just?
Nope, just happy to be here. Happy to be here, happy to serve this community and learn more about the issues of this community so that we can be a part of the change.
And Richard, I hate to put you on the spot, Richard, but from Senator Cantwell's office, did you have anything that you might like to add?
Sure, just hi everybody. Want to just offer support on decisions that are coming after conversations here, how it can be helpful at the federal level. Wanted to be here to show that support when the time comes to do that.
And then Ashley, did you want to say a few words? I think you're right. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, and Congressman Newhouse did send me something that he wanted me to share with you all, that he has been following the events on Highway 395. He wants to commend all of you up here, especially Franklin County, Steve and Clint and Brian. Thank you for really taking the lead on this issue and bringing all of these people together. And he fully supports what you're doing and he wants to be helpful. He said, there's no silver bullet solution to this, which I think was just echoed up here, that it's going to take a lot of strategies from a lot of people, but that factors like speeding, distracted driving, the physical layout of the highway, intersections, they're all things that we can address, and he wants to help however he can. That while you might be discussing ways to immediately mitigate the issue, he's ready to support the work and find reasonable ways we can secure funding in Congress to make the stretch of highway safe for those who depend on it. Please stay in touch, and you're welcome to call our office or reach out, and I know the same is true for Rick and Tony with Senators Cantwell and Murray. I have to commend them. The three of us do work very closely together. And please let us know any way we can be helpful. I have also been on the phone with the district director for Congressman Baumgartner also, and we're ready to collaborate and find ways we can help.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you. And real quick here, Dan Bisbee from Congressman Baumgartner's office wanted me to read the following. Congressman Baumgartner welcomes the continued dialogue on the ways to improve safety along U.S. Route 395. The Congressman remains committed to ensuring our roads are safe for all who rely on them and looks forward to working collaboratively with local, state, and federal partners to advance meaningful solutions that protect drivers and strengthen our communities. US 395 is at the top of my priority list. So with that, the way that I think that makes the most sense and the most orderly is if we could line up behind the microphone stand. We'll allow folks to come in, make your comments or questions or anything that you'd like to the panel here, and we'll have it all recorded. And then for the folks that couldn't be here, what our plan is to be able to have this available for folks that couldn't attend today during the middle of the week and on a Wednesday and so forth. So if you have any questions, head on up to the microphone. And then in the meantime, panel, when there's a lull maybe at the microphone, I'll read from some of the other comments that I think you'd be interested in.
Good to go? So first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for calling this meeting today. I know I've personally been in front of the commission to talk about this issue before in 2020. I do want to thank the State Patrol because I have seen an increased presence as of lately, so we do really appreciate that. My name is Tyler Halliday. I'm a farmer. I live on the east side of 395 in what's called Block 17. We also farm to Blocks 15 and Block 16, which is on the west side of the highway. This issue is near and dear to my heart. I've had 3 accidents with my company, one dating back to 2020 that was pretty significant, and I'm really glad that the legislators and senators are here today because I called every one of those offices and sent a letter in 2020 that I've included with you. Do you know how many responses I got? 0. That's not okay. So I wish I would have prepared. I made some notes here, so I can get a little passionate, a little cantankerous, so bear with me. These problems are not new. In fact, when they started the acceleration lanes, to deaf ears brought up a mountain of concerns that we had. No one listened. I've included all the people that I contacted on the back of the letter and their phone numbers and emails at the time and where it was sent. I tried to go back, and I wish Outlook, you could organize a little better, and I'm just not that tech savvy. You give me a couple of weeks, I'll find every email I sent. That being said, nothing happened. That is a unique stretch of highway, and I disagree that it's not a roadway problem. For any of those that used to play the game Frogger, it's like playing Frogger at 70 miles an hour with semi-trucks, 10-wheelers, and tractors, sometimes pulling equipment trains that are 40 feet long. And I really appreciate Mr. Baumann there talking about how limited our access points are. There's really no good way to move around. So in Block 17, I'd probably be called like one of the newer families that have been out there, and I think we've been there for 25 years. When my dad bought that farm, it was a dream come true for me. And when I got done with college, I got to live on the farm. I raised my family on that farm. I never thought I'd want to move. But I now have a 14-year-old son that's going to be driving in 2 years, and that intersection terrifies me. Every night when we go to baseball, we're sitting there looking out of the corner of our eyes, watching, especially at the mini mart on Vineyard, because it is a distracted driver problem, it's an education problem, and it's a design problem. So the fact that we're not going to talk about design, we have to start there. The rest of it we can't fix overnight. Design we can start to work to fix. I wish you guys would have started this process 5 years ago. I'm going to challenge you guys to actually do something. Maybe call someone back because you guys didn't. And that's disheartening. I know it was COVID, still no excuse. I want to share a story with you. So took my son hunting here the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We're getting up, we're cooking eggs, and my phone rings. It's one of baseball dads. And I don't answer it, right? Because I'm on my phone too much, usually working. We're having father-son time. He's rapid dialing me, right? So I finally answer. I was like, hey, Roy, what's going on? Well, Roy is a teacher in Connell. Roy drove by the intersection that I live on, that I would access the highway from. He goes, Tyler, are you okay? And I'm like, why? He goes, there's a white Tahoe that is in a wreck. Is everyone okay? I'm up in Rockford, right? My heart sinks because that's the time of the day my wife would be driving my kids to school. She doesn't answer. There was 30 minutes there were the most gut-wrenching 30 minutes of my life because he said it's bad, it's a fatality. So we went from having a dream of a place I want to live that could be a nightmare. And it just takes that quick. People are distracted, people are uneducated, but it's also a design problem. I don't want to ramble anymore. I really hope that this doesn't fall on deaf ears like it did in 2020. And I know the world was a different place and everyone hid, but nothing happened. I mean, the fact that I couldn't get a phone call or an email response back, it's not okay. It's time to start prioritizing this side of the state. And I really applaud you guys for starting this. I know this is hard to do. I know it's hard to start changing the state. I know we don't have any money, but there's simple things that can be done. Stoplights could be one of them. Another gentleman hopefully comes up and talks about roundabouts that he's been to. Another great idea. There's something needs to be in it, and I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm going to challenge you guys to prioritize this side of the state, because that doesn't happen. Thank you for your time.
I think the gentleman had a very good say, and a lot of it is a response from the officials on different questions that they're asked, and implied questions may not be the ones. My name is Charles Nicodemus. I live in Connell. I have driven back and forth in this state for almost 30 years. I had driven highway trucks all over the United States, Alaska, and Canada, and I've never had an accountable wreck. I don't call them accidents. They're not accidents. They're all caused, and causation is a wreck. Crash, anything you want to call it, but it's not an accident. Accidents is when a baby will tip over a water glass. Highway 90 down to the Oregon border is as you all know, it's a death row. These people, there's no speed limits out there. There's no, in the past 4 years, I've noticed 3, maybe 4 officers on the highway in the daytime. I don't drive at night because it's not worth it. But I drive back and forth from Connell to the beautiful Tri-Cities area. And I think that there's just no control at all. The Honorable Mr. Diddlers, he indicated they put in lights. The one at Eltopia is a good thing, a very good thing, and I was really appraised by that. That was just really a great. But when people come out of these other ones, that the north, where the long runways are really great if there was some restriction that they couldn't turn out until they get up to speed. These people are coming off of these runouts at 45, 50 miles an hour. You can't have that when people are zipping by at 90 and 95, and there's no speed limits on our highways. Very little attention by the officers. They're all great. They got a shop in Ritzville and a shop down here, I reckon. But I very rarely see an officer on a highway. They should put up signs of some kind, that there's a radar section, or even over on the old Road 68. They've got a sign up there, you're going this fast. These things in a blinking light will make people think a little bit, but it's just not a good thing not to have the observation by officers and any way to slow these traffics down. With the speed limit, is pull over if you're in the left lane for someone going by. Well, they're going by at 95 miles an hour. Because of my driving experience, I can be in my car doing 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, and when a guy goes by me, less than 2 seconds, in fact, less than a second, he's doing 95 miles an hour. And that's not a good thing. And it's just plain stupidity and lack of brains for a lot of people on these highways. I see it all the way over to 182, all over to 397. Somebody mentioned Highway 17. That place needs some kind of help. I mean, thankfully, they did some paving a couple of years ago, and that worked. But it doesn't stop the fools that want to pass a truck in a double lane like that. And the discussion is from the 23rd mile marker and the 32 mile marker. It goes all the way to Highway 90. This is a bad problem. I've even gone into Ritzville for breakfast, and people go past you like he's not even there. It's not fair to the safe drivers to put up with the unsafe drivers. And there's more of them out there than there are safe. So I thank you very much, all of you, for being here today. I really do appreciate it.
Let me elaborate on the lights that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about blinking lights. I'm talking about stop lights. Actual stop lights that you got to stop on the highway to let the farm traffic cross the road or a semi cross the road. It's a stoplight on the freeway that I'm talking about. That'll slow the traffic down.
For a little bit, yes, sir. But they don't stop for long because it just, even at a wreck, I've seen cars go by these people. Just recently, I was reading an article about in Idaho. A truck ran into a service truck, a highway service truck, has an attenuator on it, and the sucker ran into that truck. Whatever happened to slow down in a construction? Thank you so much, folks, for listening.
Good morning. Mike Harris. I am the fire chief for Franklin County Fire District 3 right here in Pasco. And we cover 205 square miles of farmland and urban and suburban areas. So basically what you see on that Google map is my fire district to Sagemore, from the Columbia River to the Snake River, and excluding the city of Pasco. And so we respond to Highway 395 corridor all the way up to Sagemore. And just, I don't have a solution. I do like Commissioner Didier's. I've been thinking about that one for quite a while with traffic lights like you see through Idaho north of Coeur d'Alene. Just 50-mile-an-hour speed, set up a traffic light. But I just want to speak briefly on cause and effect. So Captain Wilson talked about the cause. And the effect is really on firefighters and EMTs and paramedics within my fire district. And so just kind of, I'm a dovetail off of Commissioner Didier because I know his wife and I know that I've been on the calls with her on in Franklin County. And so in these incidents, my crews respond and they witness firsthand the trauma. Whether they're transporting somebody to the hospital or they're there taking care and trying to remove somebody that was involved in a fatality, and assisting law enforcement, waiting for the coroner to get there. And so we have the tools that we have to utilize to help, remove those that are impacted either in a fatality or trapped. And so, and then we're dealing with the patient in the back of the ambulance. Maybe it's a minor injury. But when they find out that they were involved in an accident and that the other party was involved, was a fatality, then it impacts them and they break down. And it's an emotional effect on them and now the crews in the back of the ambulance. And so I see it in my firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs. I see it in their face when they come back from the call. We do peer support. We have counseling available. We talk about these calls. We check on our 911 dispatchers that are receiving the 911 calls, dispatching, and all they do is read the comments and listen to the radio traffic. I check on them. There's an emotional effect on them as well, just because the number that occur. And then on the other side of the effect, when we get dispatched and we look at the address and where we're going and we see the comments, then I see it in their faces as well because we know where we're going. And we kind of know what to expect based on past history over the last 10 years. And I see it, and they're tired. And so I appreciate everybody that's here in their room, everybody up on the panel to come with some solutions, because it not only helps this community, but really it's going to help us as first responders as well. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brian Davis. I'm an attorney at Levy Schultz Davis. I'm from Pasco, Washington. I was raised within the agricultural community. My grandpa was a downwinder World War II farmer in Block 17. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate this public forum. I think it's long overdue. I think it's appropriate. But at the same time, I'm frustrated. It's very frustrating to have a meeting where our lawmakers come and ask us for solutions. Whether we like it or not, we live in a state that subscribes to a philosophy where the government can provide for the people provided they have enough resources. And we provide those resources through various tax implications. And here we are, and the government is asking us for solutions. When we have the Department of Transportation who hires civil engineers, they conduct studies, they have the data, they have the information, but here we are providing solutions. I'm not an engineer, but I know what a traffic light is. I know what a roundabout is, an overpass, an underpass, a bypass. I know these terms, but so too do the people in Olympia. They have the solutions. We've provided those resources, but they've squandered it to the detriment of our community, to the detriment of Eastern Washington. And I have seen firsthand the devastation this has caused. One of my closest friends, I've seen his family destroyed, brought to his knees. He'll never recover. He lost his wife and his 18-year-old daughter when we should have the resources to fix his problems without me having to say overpass, underpass, bypass, lights. We know the solution. But the state has failed us. The state has completely failed us. I believe the state is negligent, and respectfully, I intend to prove that.
I asked to speak after Mr. Davis because he doesn't know this, but my name is Madeline Johnson, and I'm your neighbor. I've known you. And I'm here today not because of an isolated incident, not because of bad luck, and not because of one family's tragedy. I'm here because Highway 395, specifically the intersections at Crestlock, Vineyard, and Foster Wells, has become a predictable, well-documented, and deadly failure of roadway design. As long as it remains this way, sorry, this is very difficult for me to talk about, the crashes, the injuries, and the funerals will continue. On October 15th, 2023, my life, my husband's life, and the lives of everyone in our families and the other car were split into before and after. I was driving northbound on 395 with the posted speed limit. A driver leaving the Country Mercantile failed to yield and entered the highway. I braked with both feet, trying to avoid the collision. I laid on the horn, but a truck like mine, which is the average size here, takes about 400 feet to stop at 70 miles per hour. I had about 40. Unfortunately, the other driver's split-second misjudgment led to an instant double fatality tragedy for herself and her 18-year-old daughter. My husband and I survived, but with life-altering injuries, permanent loss of function in dominant hands and limbs, and PTSD so severe that even passing that intersection today sends my heart into my throat. This is not a tragic anomaly. This is one example of a larger pattern. In the last several years, this small 7-mile stretch of highway has seen multiple fatal crashes, far more than would ever be considered normal or acceptable for a divided highway of this type. Any transportation engineer probably tell you that when one geometric segment of roadway produces repeats of the same crash type, the issue is not solely the drivers, it's the design. What we have here is right-of-way roulette, a system where ordinary drivers must gamble their lives, whether they're crossing traffic or they're the traffic on the highway. There are no protected turn pockets, signals, no meaningful margin for human error. We all know the outcome of roulette. Eventually, someone loses everything. Blaming these wrecks on people failing to yield or speeding is the easiest explanation, but also the most misleading. Human error exists everywhere, but on a well-designed highway, human error doesn't routinely end in fatalities. On this stretch of 395, it does, repeatedly, consistently, and predictably. That's the difference between a driver mistake and a system-wide failure. In the last 2 years, my husband has had to drive this road daily. He's seen the aftermath of crash after crash, disturbingly similar to ours. Meanwhile, I haven't driven this stretch more than 5 times in the last 2 years, not because it's convenient, but because I'm too traumatized to do it. The reality is that this stretch of road is so dangerous that even approaching it feels like entering a battlefield. Yet thousands of people must endure this battle every day, unknowingly. This is where your role becomes critical, everybody's role. Speed reduction alone is not a solution. It's a temporary tactic. There are divided highways all over the US with equal or higher speeds that do not produce fatal crashes at these rates. Why? Because they have designs built to anticipate and absorb the inevitable human miscalculations. Lowering the speed limit here without redesigning the intersection is the equivalent of handing out umbrellas in a hurricane. It acknowledges the problem, but does nothing to stop the damage. The data is screaming, the crash history is screaming, the families left behind are screaming. Today I'm joining them. I've stayed hidden for the last couple of years. I can't anymore. We need immediate commitment to infrastructure-based solutions backed by real engineering. Rerouting and consolidation of dangerous access points, alignment improvements and visibility corrections, a full current safety study with actionable implementation. Call it whatever you want, modernization, mitigation, investment, but above all, call it what it truly is, prevention. I'm speaking not just for myself, my husband, or our families. I'm speaking for the father from our wreck who never got to see his daughter grow up. For every driver who enters those intersections with no idea what risk they're taking. For every family who someday will receive the same life-altering call that mine had to, unless something changes. You have the authority, you have the data, you have the human cost standing right in front of you. Please act before the next tragedy makes my speech someone else's burden. Thank you.
Thank you for having the meeting. I'm Joe Cotta. On behalf of City of Pasco and myself, I'm a pastor, so I personally counsel families who are grieving from lost ones on 395 and other places as well. I lost my son on Taylor Flats, and so it's a personal issue, obviously. The amount of changes that these families experience that are left behind, it's radical. A lot of them, they need to change careers. They need to change friends because their friends don't understand them. It's a radical change, moving into a completely different circle of people when they really need the most friendship and love they can possibly get. Those running in superficial circles are left completely alone. So, I don't know if this has been proposed. I'm not a traffic engineer. I'm just wondering why it's not really a capital project to just slow the speed limit down in this area. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm just wondering, just slowing down the speed limit in that area, you would think that would prevent quite a bit of death with a little bit more reaction time if it works that way, and just doing some things that really don't involve a large capital project, but just for the meantime, could slow things down in that area. And, on behalf of the City of Pasco, obviously it's not our jurisdiction, but obviously we'd be willing to support anything that could be done to make the street safer.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having this. Appreciate our federal partners here. And I know you guys have heard us ad nauseum. We just talked to you the day before yesterday, and you heard a lot of this. So I guess a lot of what I would have to say is just for our federal partners, who I'm also grateful are here. And it's really just a reminder that this Tri-Cities area is now the third largest metropolitan area in the state of Washington. All of that freight traffic that comes from Portland, whether by rail or by semi, comes right through the Tri-Cities, and that's how it goes all to the inland part of the country, all right through here. And so we combine that freight traffic with that agricultural traffic, with the commuter traffic, and as Commissioner Didier put it, it becomes a death trap on those highways with fast-moving vehicles, heavy-moving vehicles, slow-moving vehicles, and it is really long overdue that something happens. I lived up in the North County for 25% of my life, and I'm getting old, so that's a long time, and we would drive this multiple times a day, and it is scary going up and down there. I think about my kids and everything, trying to navigate it. So as so many others have stated, this is long overdue for real solutions, and I know we're cash-strapped. The one thing we say is, we don't have time or money, but those are the two things we really need. We need money, and we don't have any time, and we need to act. So again, I appreciate you guys coming on Monday night. I appreciate you being back here today. So again, I guess my comments are more for our federal partners and seeing what we can do to fix this. So thank you.
All right. And again, I just wanted to comment, I do appreciate everybody coming here. This issue is very important to the residents of Pasco, Kennewick, and Richland. And again, anything we could do in a speedy manner would be much appreciated. And again, I do appreciate you guys facilitating this meeting and bringing it to the forefront of our community. Again, much appreciated. So thank you.
So I don't have prepared remarks. So I know the state has a target zero as a goal for them. I know part of those metrics that they use to, I apologize, just give me 1 second here. There's 3 that are talked about in target zero: education, enforcement, and engineering. What I'm here today to talk about is a possible engineering solution, one that the Federal Highway Administration actually does have, and they have recorded statistics on over some previous, I forget the exact time frame that it's gone on, but it has been implemented in several states. It's called a restricted crossing U-turn intersection, sometimes referred to as an R-cut. I do have a technical brief here, which I'll be happy to pass on up. It is something that just minimizes the number of conflict points in an intersection, helps reduce stuff. When drivers would have to exit out of a lane, they would only have to deal with one flow of traffic versus worrying about cross flow of traffic. Yeah, I'd be happy to provide that. Speaking on a personal note, I have a friend who lost 2 family members in a collision out at Self Landing and Country Mercantile. And I saw the effects that has on them and their family. And it is what helped compel me to try to find out solutions to see what could be done. I did come across this. I understand that there are fiduciary responsibilities that we can't necessarily spend the money on every single intersection to do overpasses, underpasses. This is just another thing. Some of the statistics that have come out on these intersections have seen somewhere around a 30% reduction in crash rates and a 50% reduction in fatality crash rates. That number also drops lower if signals are incorporated along with that. So with that, I don't want to take up any more time. I'd be happy to pass this up if that's acceptable.
My name is Jason Langston. I'm a captain with Franklin County Fire District 3. I wanted to echo the comments that Chief Harris made a little bit earlier about responders being tired. I am one of them. I've been doing the job for 25 years, and when you hear about all the fatal accidents, I've been on about 80 to 85% of them myself. There was a span in 2023, I believe it was, where I personally was on a span of 7 fatal accidents in 3 weeks at those specific intersections. It takes a major toll not only on the families, but the first responders as well. I ended up in counseling because in a span of 4 days, I was on 3 fatals, back to back to back. Some of the stories being told up here, I was the incident commander on those. I've stood by, waited for coroners to cut people out of cars. I've been there for serious accidents that maybe weren't fatal, but they were catastrophic, life-changing accidents. So the one thing I want to impress is it is not just the family toll, which is devastating in its own right. It's also the first responder toll. For even now, to this day, I can recall several incidences and accidents at those intersections. I still see faces. I still remember names. I still remember times and dates and vehicles involved, the smells. It takes a major toll. Even Commissioner Didier, you're familiar with that, with what your wife does. But it takes a major toll, and that often gets overlooked. And we're a combination department, so we have a mix of full-time career staff and volunteers. I've seen volunteers quit after the first incident going out there, and it is really hard to find people to come out and volunteer for the fire service. And then we take them out to the wrecks, and it's done. And it might be like, hey, this happens, but it's a one-time deal, you'll get past it. And then the next day it's another. Next day it's another. We see 395 and Crestlock, Vineyard, Self Landing pop up. We get really nervous about what we're going to see. And the call details are never super accurate. Sometimes it seems very minor, and then it turns out not to be. So we appreciate everyone trying to find a solution, because as a responder myself, I'm tired. It gets very difficult dealing with that. I was on the most recent fatal collision we had, and not to get too personal, but here I am trying to help save a life, doing CPR next to a cross. Oh, and I happen to be on that call that the cross was placed there for. I am, as a responder, am tired of the human suffering and the responder suffering that no one sees when we go back. We put on our face, we help the public, we do what we need to do. But myself, I have done it at the station, personally broke down and cried when I got back to station. Unable to know if I was going to continue that day. Or you see people that you help with a little bit, and guess what? They have to go back to work. For the volunteer crews, I don't know how they do it sometimes. They go out and they deal with that suffering, then they have to go right back to work. Me, I can go hide in my office for a little bit. So I appreciate the local, state, federal partners coming out trying to find a solution, because this isn't just for the families, this is for the community as a whole. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Adam Lincoln. I'm the Executive Director for the Port of Pasco, and I appreciate the opportunity to come speak with you all today. On a personal note, this is a stretch of our county that I like to avoid. I don't like having my kids in the car when we go through this area, as much as they'd like to go to the Country Mercantile weekly if they could. We stay away from there just because of the risk of coming out of there and turning right or left. It's Frogger, as someone else said. Our job as a port is to bring economic development projects to the community, and those projects lead to many more trucks being put on the roads in this exact stretch. And if I'm doing my job right, that's not going to stop anytime soon. It's going to be continuing to put more truck traffic, more vehicles on the roads intentionally. And that's scary when we hear some of the firsthand stories of the impacts to people's lives because of this stretch of road. And so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about some of the short-term solutions, which I think makes logical sense. Slowing down the speeds, having lights put out there is a low-cost way to kick things off, both at US 12 and 395 here. And in the long term, I think solutions that include a pretty substantial corridor analysis that look at what are some of the longer-term investments. But we all know that Eastern Washington falls short when it comes to transportation investments. Year after year, we are not the I-5 corridor, and logically I can understand that, but at some point the mission of WashDOT and the mission has to be focused on the safety needs. If this isn't what it takes to get dollars invested, I truly don't know what it is. And I know Commissioner Baumann and I have had great conversations too about trying to get traffic off of this road and heading across the river even. So if this is what it takes to have that conversation and really be serious about how do we bypass this area even, then that's what it takes. We need to have that conversation more thoroughly. So I appreciate the opportunity, appreciate you guys listening, and thanks for letting me speak to you for a moment. Thanks.
Good morning. My name's Jared Balcom, and our farm headquarters are right on the corner of 395 and Vineyard. So I have 20 to 30 employees that are crossing that intersection on a daily basis, coming and going. We farm on the other side of the road. I grew up on that highway, so I know I don't look this old, but I remember when it was a 2-lane highway, and then I went to a 4-lane highway, and then we started putting crosses in there. I remember when there was no overpass at King City and all the accidents that we had there. And I watched that go from a lot of accidents to a stop sign, to a stop light, to an overpass that finally solved the problem. I understand that we don't have the money to put overpasses at all those intersections, but what we do have in the short term is the ability to make those safer. And I think we can do that by, number one, shutting off the crossway at Foster Wells. There's no need for that. You've got frontage roads on both sides. You can shut that crossway down today. And if you need me to, I can take my tractor over there and shut it down. It's no problem. But I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of my guys being scared every time there's an accident. We have to come in early. We have to stay late to move our equipment because of traffic concerns. And so there's ways to solve this. And you can put roundabouts at Vineyard, roundabouts at Crestlock. You can save money for your overpass at Sagemore because you got to get over the railroad tracks. We get that. But to sit here and say that you don't have the money or the safety, and I'm trying not to pontificate or get mad, but I'm really passionate about this because I have people that work for me that I care about. And the fact that we can't solve this is very frustrating from our standpoint. The one thing that I keep hearing is that you say you don't have the money. This is a safety concern. I can't tell L&I that I don't have the money for the safety programs that I have to implement or the safety that I have to do for my employees. And the fact that you as legislators tell us that you don't have the money for safety doesn't fly. Don't mean to be mean, just being real. So that's my concern. I hope you guys can figure this out. Thanks.
Michelle Andrews. I'm a resident of Pasco 17 years now. I used to drive from Rogue River, Oregon, where we do live on the I-5 corridor, where a semi-truck slammed into the back of a camper and RV vehicle and a family, and it was destroyed. All hands on deck. My dad was a pastor, and he served the police and the fire departments, and what you're hearing is very real and it's lasting. I myself was driving on the I-5 corridor when a woman fleeing from a scene on the other side at night was hit by a truck that had just passed me. I had to move over because they were on my tail. And she was hit at 70 miles an hour, bounced off their windshield, and they were in shock. I pulled over in front of them, ran back and attended to her. She died. I was not prepared for that. There was also a scene further up the road on 395 where a van was hit. And again, I saw a child's car seat. The van was completely ripped open. I stopped my vehicle, and because I worked on the road department for Spokane County, I knew how to flag people over with debris flying all over. I almost got hit in the face with a lot of it. Getting people to move over because they couldn't see the scene. The rise was bad. My husband has served City of Pasco as a paramedic firefighter for 31 years, and he would not let me get a job in Othello, although it matched my experience from the Heart Association because of Highway 17. I experienced the same problems on Highway 17 when I lived in Deer Park. The small rises, you can't see cars coming, and you get out and pass, and you have head-ons. I just came from Deer Park, and they do have roundabouts on the freeways. It was freezing rain. It was very difficult for big trucks to get around them. Having lights on the freeway, they do have those in Coeur d'Alene, but people are far more used to that. I object to so much money being put into carbon credits that were probably forged with Canada illegally and unconstitutionally. And I would ask that my state representatives review that with citizens like myself who are doing that, because the First Amendment petition would address that issue. We need to repair and restore our Constitution in the state and for the United States. I will leave that lie for now because that is the long-term deal here. What I love about the Tri-Cities, I'm very proud when I see farmers out at night farming that wheat. This is their office. This is our economy. I do believe that an overpass is an investment in the future because we are going to do nothing but continue to grow our farms and the economy of Washington State. We have more irrigation going out to the blocks than ever. We grow more blueberries than they do on the west side. We're an incredible amount of people, and they work day and night. We have dear friends clear out in K-Lotus that count on safety, and they are the volunteers in those areas that have had to call the helicopters. That they're the people that my husband's forged relationships with because they've gone out and saved life after life after life. I object to putting some kind of theory of carbon credits over people's lives. You're the best up there. I agree with Clint. My husband served with his wife many, many times. And PTSD is a reality. And I agree with Ms. Johnson, who came up here and so eloquently put it, but she had to do it out of the personal experience. It is an investment. It is the best decision. I don't want people flowing through your offices with cars and bikes and what have you. And when you start attending to people's behavior patterns, what you get is calming traffic patterns like on Sylvester that do nothing but calm people at all. There's all these bike lanes that nobody uses and a complete bike lane along the entire river. I do believe that our state patrolmen, we need more of them. When I drove back and forth in college in all kinds of weather through the gorge, we had those state patrolmen at Sprague Lake, man, and you knew you better be watching yourself because they just come out of there and they'd be given those tickets, and in Moses Lake. And those state patrolmen are spread far too wide. I've had it from their own mouths. When they served on the Civil Service Commission with me. We need more state patrolmen too. They're great people. Thank you.
The last two speakers, thank you very much. Just so you know, you're preaching to the choir on this one, especially on the carbon credits. And then also, I want to address the financial situation regarding the money for projects. We're dealing with, a lot of the time, a governor. A perfect example, when we were working on, I put in a request for design on Tank Farm Road, A Street, and we got into the transportation budget. Made it all the way through easily, and then Governor Inslee vetoed that out of the bill. And these are some of the issues we have. Same thing, we can talk about Highway 12, Walla to Pasco. We're working on Phase 8, and being on Transportation Committee, I lobbied. 2 years ago, we got money in, they took it out just for planning and acquisition. And I was able to get it into the budget the last day of session, basically. And hopefully this supplemental year, they don't take it out. So there's some real challenges where priorities are, and we're fighting like heck to deal and try to get that, to do things just exactly what we're talking about here. So we're fighting for you every way we can. And so I just want you to understand, the money is being put in places unheard of. Some are very legitimate, others we don't understand. And a perfect example is what's going on with the CCA. That's totally ridiculous, and we're going to, and sadly, see more of it. So I just wanted to address those.
Thank you, and appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of this committee. My name is Sid Grant. I was raised here in Franklin County as a farm kid. I spent many times going between Block 1 and Block 17 with combines, because my dad was a custom cutter when they first opened up Highway 7 or Block 17. So I've not very few have we not spent in going across Foster Wells, or not Foster Wells, but Vineyard, and also Crosslock, going across, getting equipment over there. I spent many years going across that when I grew up. The Tri-Cities only had about 90,000 people in it. Okay, now it's a third largest metropolitan area. After I left farming, I went to the State Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, and the State Patrol. I spent almost 26 years with the Washington State Patrol in Kennewick. So I don't need to tell you how many crashes and fatals that I investigated on 395. Being a Franklin County boy, that was where I did all my work. We had the opportunity back when I was working to do a lot of enforcement. We spent hours and hours and hours working aircraft and everything else out of the scale house right up there by Sagemore. And we worked hours and hours. This used to be a pro-law enforcement or pro-state patrol enforcement area. Unfortunately, we have less troopers now than we did in the 70s. There was 25 troopers assigned here in the 70s. Now we've got 20 troopers assigned, and all the troopers go to the west side. We need another detachment. We've been fighting for a detachment for 40 years, and we're not getting it. It's not because we can't enforce it. It's because everything that's done now is reactive. I mean, the guys left in the back of the room because they've got a bad crash up on 395. So what's happening? They're gone. And this is what they do. They don't have time to go out and do pro-enforcement. We need troopers in this area. And we need somebody to do it. Every time you talk to the chief over there, everybody goes to the I-5 corridor, where all the money's at. Let's get some troopers here. Clint, I love your idea of we need to slow the speeds down, but you can put a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, you could put a 45 out there, but if you don't have somebody to enforce it, it's not going to work. The speed limit up to Foster Wells is 60 miles an hour. You get on 395, what is it? Before you ever get there, you're at 70. The minute you hit the 70 sign, it means you could drive 80. Why? Because we don't have any enforcement. You can do all the great programs you want to. Feasibility studies, Mark, you know as well as I do. We've been for 40 years waiting for Highway 12 to be finished, because I used to work that area all the way down into Walla Walla at times. And we've been waiting to get those last 4 lanes put in, and it's not going to happen. So the feasibility studies are great. I will never see overpasses on 395. I'm too old. It'll never happen in my lifetime. Number two things, you've got businesses on both Crestlock and both on Vineyard. If we try to put an overpass, you're going to kill both those businesses. It's not a need, there's no reason to put the overpasses in anymore. Most of the crashes that happen are not local people. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. Most of them are people that have no idea how much traffic at 70 miles an hour when they make those left turns in front of the traffic or coming out. That's a 4-lane highway they've got to pass to get into a lane to be able to start accelerating to get into traffic, and then they move over too quick. I'm preaching to the choir, I realize that, but thank you for listening, and maybe you can do something about it. Yes, Steve?
So it's my understanding that we have the exact same number of troopers that patrol this region as we had in the 80s. It was higher in the 70s, it reduced in the 80s, and it has not climbed since the 80s. Can you confirm that?
That is correct. We had, at times we had anywhere between 14 and 16 troopers when I was a trooper, and I retired in 2013. And that's after 26 years. And we had less troopers, but we were not doing the reactive enforcement that the troopers are doing now, because all they're doing is chasing crashes.
So we have, in our metropolitan area, we have roughly 320,000 people. So we had the same number of troopers for 90,000 people as we have now for 320,000.
Correct. Thank you for your time.
My name is Mark Jansen, retired trooper from quite a little while ago. I worked old 395 in an interesting time. But then when it was finally finished, we were still up there working it. It started at 55 miles an hour on 395, the new 395. And just an example as me, I would go in the inside lane, run about 50 miles an hour, run the radar, and I'd set it at 75. And if I was getting enough cars stopped, I didn't have to lower it. But if there wasn't enough traffic, I'd lower it down to 70. But it was 55 miles an hour. That's what we had. I came here, back here. I was in Colfax for a year and a half, working that area, which was an interesting place with the college, drinking at beer and wine. Some of you probably know beer and wine in Idaho at 19. That was a scary place to be. Came back here in July of '75. And we had 25 troopers here. But the other thing that has happened that I've looked at is the cities, the state highways that run through the cities are now covered by the state patrol. That was never happening when I was a trooper here. So I don't know what the change was in that. I don't know how that happened, but I asked the question of these young troopers. I said, so how many accidents? One of them tells me, well, last year I had, before they did that, I had maybe 40 to 50 accidents. Now they're way up over 150 accidents each trooper working. So if we had that many back then, it is just like Sid said, it's a problem of people here. And I got to say, we voiced this enough. We can't make I would say Debbie, but that's Captain Debbie. So about, it isn't her fault. I don't know. I mean, we lost, she could probably give you right. I mean, I've heard about 127 troopers because of the vax. But so I think, I like what Clint said about lights. If that would be something that's pretty easy to do monetarily. So, but I just want to say, the young troopers of today are overwhelmed with accidents here, and that's kind of sad to me. So we could do enforcement. You know what the traffic's like out there. Sylvester Street at night, Court Street at night. It's a raceway. You can hear them. And then there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. So sad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for being here. I want to thank all of the, the ex-state patrolmen and people like that know all these statistics. I don't know any of that. I'm just a simple person in the community. My name's John Strong. I come from Eltopia. We just built a house out there about 5 years ago, and we run a business we're based out of Eltopia, but we work in Tri-Cities almost exclusively, so we travel that 395 corridor I'm amazed just living out there just in the last even 5 years that we've been there, the uptick of traffic on that 395, both night and morning. And with our line of work, oftentimes we will leave at 2 or 3 in the morning. And we used to be like the only vehicles on the road. And that's not how it is anymore. The amount of traffic traveling that corridor, even in the early hours of the morning, has just become astonishing. We always get to work and we say, man, can you believe how many cars were out on the road this morning, even at 2 a.m.? So we definitely have seen a huge uptick of the traffic, and that's not going to change with all of the manufacturing and the data centers that are on their way. I mean, it's just going to get worse and worse. So this is definitely not an issue that we can just have a meeting about today and pacify the community and kick the can down the road, if you will. Why am I concerned? Our oldest daughter is currently in driver's ed, and she gets to now navigate that Eltopia and 395 intersection. So that terrifies me, and then just the employees as well coming down that road. One of our employees been about 2 months ago, traveling southbound on 395, truck and trailer, got cut off by a semi coming across Sagemore from the east side of the road, going all the way, continuing on the west side of 395. So crossing all lanes of 395, trying to go west on Sagemore Road. And he said he didn't even have time to brake. He had to just swerve the truck. He ended up in what we call the speed up lanes on the side of the road. That was the only way he avoided that accident, was to simply take his truck and trailer off the edge of the road and pass that semi as his headlights were coming at him all the way over on the southbound speed up lane. There's a lot of talk in the community about, we need to educate people here. And it almost feels as if those that be assume that if we could just educate these simple local people, that these problems are somehow going to go away. And I don't think it's a lack of education, or I don't think it's a lack of common sense. The thought of that if we were just more educated, this would go away, is almost insulting. The Country Mercantile alone draws countless visitors in the summertime. Many of those visitors are elderly. They're going in there for that neat little country store. Many of those visitors are pulling a truck or have a truck and trailer, whether it's a camper or recreational vehicles of some sort, and that further compounds the issue of them getting on and off the road there. The speed up lanes are great if you know how to use them, but when you don't know how to use them, they're a nightmare. They're as dangerous, I think, as the intersections are themselves, because people don't know how to use them. There's no signage. The community hasn't been taught how those are supposed to be correctly used. I've been in the middle of 395 trying to exit to the west, held up by southbound traffic. A gentleman driving a farm pickup was trying to cross from the east side of the road, but I'm out in the middle, and he knew he had that turn up lane, so he came across in front of me to take the speed up lane to go southbound. So here I am watching traffic that's coming southbound, and all of a sudden I have a truck entering my line of sight from the right side of the road. And in that moment, I don't know who was at fault and who wasn't at fault, or who should have had the right of way there. To this day, I don't know who has that right of way. But he knew that if he could just get in front of me, he had a speed up lane. I knew I had to wait for oncoming traffic. So the turning lanes are very confusing. And I don't think that's just going to be an educational thing. I think we all know that the ultimate fix for this is going to be overpasses. And I know they're expensive, and I know that you guys don't know how they're going to come up with the funding, but that is the fix for this. Highway 20 in Idaho is a very similar highway. Eventually, they had enough fatalities on that highway. That's kind of where I grew up. I remember going home to visit, and it seemed like every year they were just marching north and putting a new overpass in until they had put overpasses on every single one of those roads. And now that every single crossroads, regardless of how busy that intersection is or was or is now, they have an intersection there, and that's how they solved that problem in Idaho. I know that funding, everybody talks about how the funding is going to be the solution, and this just blows my mind. Washington State pays the third highest tax rate for roads in America. And the fact that we can sit in this room and debate that we don't have enough funds that's just crazy to me. I just don't understand that. You would think we'd have roads that were paved in gold paying that much tax. It's ridiculous. If Idaho can do it, I think they're like 29th on the list. And if they can do it with that funding, we can surely do it. at the third from the top. Had one other thing in here. I'm trying not to take up too much time. My one concern about asking us from the community about how we're going to fix the problem is I see that as a way to pacify a community and not fix the issue. I see that as a way for representatives to say, well, we asked you, you said this, we gave it to you, and we still have the problem. And so 5 or 10 years from now, we're back addressing the same issues. So I would caution you about asking us for the solutions to the problem, because that's well above our pay scale. We're paying our taxes, we're doing what we need to do. That should be on your side to do that. And then this is just a thought. I know I came from a little town, I called it a hippie town, and they were obsessed with bikes and bike paths and anything along that line. And I would be curious to know, I know that some of bike paths are funded by the highway taxes that come from fuel. And I'd never understood in that town how we as a community allowed a state and federal funding to fund a bike path that pays no registration fee. They have no benefit, I mean, you could call it a carbon benefit, but they plug up the roadways, they're dangerous, but yet here we are as the taxpayers buying the fuel, paying for these bike paths nonstop. It always baffled me how they would spend that much money on a bike path that pays no registration. So if you're looking for a source of income or to further, maybe to gather some money, perhaps you could start to require registration on pedal bikes on probably more of the west side of the state, but it just blows me away that they don't have any sort of registration, but yet they use these fuel tax dollars. So thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Joel Kinsey, and I live on Finn Road, just north of Pasco here, one of the intersections that is in the middle of these. It hasn't been mentioned very much, but very much in the same corridor. We have a general contracting business to operate out of the county, and relatively newcomer, but have lived within a mile of one of these intersections for the last 20 years. Family members on Foster Wells, between employees and family members, probably go through or enter 395 25, 30 plus times a day on one of these intersections. So it's very real. We've had 6 of our children get a driver's license while living within a mile of one of these intersections. And so there's a very emotional aspect of living near and utilizing these intersections, and we've heard that today, and we've heard the effects that it has on residents, community, responders, patrol, and all of us. And that's real, and we feel it here in this room, and we know that you will take that aspect back when you're working on solutions. However, experience would say that that emotional aspect is very difficult to turn into anything realistic. And that isn't all that there is. These are not just simple rural interchanges. These are gateways to some of the largest economic industry in the state. Sagemore serves probably one of the largest egg producing facilities in the state. Crestlock and Vineyard would now serve one of the largest milk producing processing facilities in the state, if not the US or the world. Finn serves some of the largest dairies in the state. And you get down to Foster's Wells and there's multiple agricultural processing. We've got Amazon facilities working out of there, large AutoZone. There's a tremendous amount of industry, and that, as the gentleman from Port Pasco clarified, he has no intentions of that changing, and none of us want that to change. The fact that it is intimated that it's not a roadway problem, the traffic, if you're going to blame this on the traffic, then we have to stop the traffic. We haven't put any limits on traffic. We are trying to increase the traffic because that increases our industry. And so when you have an increase in traffic, we now have a roadway problem. It used to be a gravel road. It changed to a 2-lane road. It's now a 4-lane road, but it has at-grade intersections. And that does not work for the needs of the infrastructure that we are growing into. Unless we're planning to stop that growth, we need to change the roadway. And lights are an immediate temporary fix, but that doesn't help us with future infrastructure. That limits, it constricts, it slows things down. We're trying to move people through this area, not constrict them. So we appreciate the emotional aspect of it, but that's something that all of you can take back. That there is a economic aspect here that's not matched in very many other 10-mile corridors in this state. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Santos Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers at the Country Mercantile. I'm sure you guys all look familiar. But we used to be a place that was known, for fearing going there because you're going to spend a lot of money. But now we're feared for something else. And I think that's causing everybody, not just outside, but even inside our facilities, a big concern. I mean, you guys been there. We have a lot of teenagers working there. I mean, we're talking about over 100, sometimes even on October, 140. And every time something like that happens, we have to call each other and be like, was it one of ours? I mean, everybody expects their kid to go out there and have an opportunity for a job or anything like that. And we don't know if it's going to be them the next time. And a lot of times also with these accidents, we're always the first ones there. Either we're the ones taking out the bodies or we're the ones just cleaning up the place. I mean, it's a tough deal. And I hope for something really, something fast. I mean, I'm sure it'll make the parents of these kids that work there comfortable. It'll make us more comfortable. It makes our customers comfortable. Because, I mean, it's just becoming an everyday, and it's not new like somebody mentioned. I mean, this is, every year we're preparing for something. We're like, who's going to be next? We have protocol now. It's like if something like that happens, first thing you got to do is call 911, and then you can go ahead, and if you can do something about it, do something about it. But it's just hard. I mean, it's hard because, we have to see this every single time, and people don't want to get there no more. It used to be a place where people want to come with their families. Now people are scared to go with their families. We're a family place, and now families are just torn about it. When I've been hearing everybody else speak about when Country Mercantile, it's a bad rep to have. And I really hope, especially for the other generations, to do something about it. We have, it's been years. I'm talking 2023, that accident, I was there. 2020, I was there. We were always there. And then we passed those intersections. And my suggestion is look into people going south. That's always the thing. People going south because you have the acceleration lane and you have your slow lane, and you only have pretty much one lane in the middle where people have to basically merge in there because people don't know how to use them. And we try to educate, and I hope everybody educates everybody that they know. We tell our employees, hey, make sure you guys at least if you guys got to go across, I prefer you guys take that right, take that U-turn, and go back home. Go safe. We're just tired of everything, of all these accidents coming on and making us look like we want to do something about it. And my question would be, what can we do about it as the Mercantile, as a business that loves to have you guys in there, loves to have people go in their families? What do we do? Can we go out there with signs, cones? You know what I'm saying? We can take measures, but we don't know how far. But it shouldn't be our job. It should be pretty much, people that know how to do this kind of stuff. That's above our pay grade, and we want to make sure everybody comes in and has a good time and they can leave safe. And what can we do? And I hope that's a question. Can we do something about it? What can we do to help everybody get there safely and get out of there safely and make it home? That's just that's pretty much all I have. It's just let's do something about it, and we want to help. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Good morning. Thank you for all for being here. My name is Guadalupe Cardenas. I'm one of the neighbors, known Mr. Dozier and Mr. Clicker. Happy to come to the Country Mercantile to get some stuff when you guys campaigning. So anyway,
I am there, every time it's a magnet, pulls me in, I'm always in there, so.
well, good. We need somebody else's money, so anyway, good. I don't know if I say too much, but I think I talked to some of the commissioners. We need some lights quickly or something like that. That'll help. I look at the signs, since I'm a neighbor there. What can you do inexpensively, quickly? That's something, like Clint said, something, I don't know how you can do that, but easily, that'll be, the signs have enough information, but now we need something blinking. That's what I can see. Overpasses, it might not work as well there. Runabouts, I have an issue with runabouts. I have some trucks. When runabouts, I want to say to the Department of Transportation, they're now truck drivers, the engineers, but the engineers on the runabouts, they put 3 inches or 4 inches on the runabouts, especially the Burbank one or any other places. It makes those loads shift. I don't know, it's potatoes, apples, whatever. Not good, especially when you got, so even people with horse trailers, that's just not good. I don't want to say too much anymore because a lot of people, I have to say thank you to all the people prior to me. They made a lot of good comments. So I think from the state, from the Mr. Cantwell or Ms. Murray or whoever else in the state, I think they can listen to a lot of things, but I don't want to take more time since I get affected there. I got employees and we want to watch all those neighbors. Anyway, like Tyler said at the beginning, it affects everybody. So I think the comments were made. I thank you for all for coming.
Brian, I just have one last thing to say, and again, and I'll wrap my part up, but I really appreciate everybody coming. These comments are great. We're just like the rest of you. I'm a farmer. Dozier's a farmer. We've got professors, teachers, whatever. So we're the same way. We're trying to find these solutions. But we do have to look at short-term and long-term. And so we are immediately going to be, already are, working with Department of Transportation and State Patrol. We're going to find a short-term solution to the best that we can. Long-term is a bigger animal than that. And just kind of for your information, when you have a transportation biennial transportation budget, you have your leaders in both the Senate and the House that will make the decisions on what the requests are. So any of the requests that come in for that long-term budget, so it'll come from basically our counties and our cities. We have Good Roads Group Organization. We have BOCC. They come to us for these requests. We send in the request, and after we send in the request, on the transportation budget, there will be a hearing, both in the Senate Transportation and House Transportation. This is where you come in. This is where we need you. We have testimony on this. This is where we have that testimony from you on the request. If it's an overpass, if it's a roundabout, if it's lights, whatever we need, this is where we need that testimony. And we will notify the counties, the Good Roads Group, BOCC, cities, and they'll notify you as well, so we can get you there to testify. That's huge.
Just one question. We all have jobs, right? Your guys' job is to work for us. They need to come to us.
And I love that. But what they do is they listen to the people. We can go out there and we can preach what we want. We have to have it. But testify, and we have virtual, so you can testify virtually. You can send in written comment or whatever it is. But we need you because that's how this system is set up. And the more people we find, the more that we get out of that.
So the best testifying I can do is I invite you guys all to come here during 10 wheeler season, the end of harvest. Come get in a truck with me. Come get in a tractor with me.
That isn't during that time of year. It's during the dead of winter is when they make that decision. It's not during harvest.
Again, they can take time out of their schedules and come see what we're dealing with.
And they are doing it. Franklin County Farm Bureau has Farmer for a Day, and we get those legislators out here to look at that. So they are doing that.
And that's a feel-good thing. No one wants to talk about anything real. That's a feel-good thing. I've been part of it a million times. It's great because we get to meet people. What's up happening is they go to the other side and they don't care about us. It's time for them to start caring about us. No one wants to hear about why we can't do something. It's time to start doing something. Period. The end. I will sit down.
Related to what Representative Clicker said, there was a sign-in sheet just outside the door, and I would ask that each of you sign in and provide your email address. We as a county will provide that list to our legislators so that they can communicate with you and you can communicate with us in relationship to this, and so that when there is a hearing, when there is an opportunity to be present physically is always better, but if you cannot, please be there virtually and testify. Simply similar to what we're doing today is we are, as a community, we're having a conversation about the needs and concerns of this community, and it needs to go in front of our legislators as a whole.
Thank you, panel. I would just, I'm in a unique position where I've served as a county commissioner and a senator, and I will give a little bit of defense. When the legislators are asking for solutions, it's so that they can take this right here as an example, and we have an audience. We have an audience with Washington State Patrol, and we've got an audience with the Washington State Department of Transportation, and we've got an audience with our federal representatives, and then we've got an audience with your local representatives. And so I probably didn't do a good job of explaining that at first, so any ire about just the solutions, you can direct them my way. But I can tell you, every day we were in contact with our legislative delegation, and I think they do a fine job. The other thing that we haven't talked about too is in Washington State, there's, just again to give a little bit of defense, the way that usually a lot of the funding works for projects is if you vote for the third highest gas tax in the country, then you'll get, appropriations, and if you don't, then you just don't get anything. So I thought it was worth putting in perspective for the folks that have to go back to Olympia and fight that good fight. I also wanted to read this, and I think that you all will want me to. I want to thank you for stepping up to see that the US 395 corridor becomes safer for all those that use the corridor for travel. I'm highly disheartened that it took the death of my father to get a serious conversation started. One of those uses the US 395 corridor on a regular basis. One of the big issues I see is the lack of enforcement of RCW 4661.400. As stated above in subsection 2, the posted speed limit is supposed to be the fastest any vehicle is supposed to be going. There's supposed to be no leniency. I've lost count of the number of times I've been passed by vehicles in combination or vehicles towing a trailer that have gone past me doing 70 miles an hour plus when they're supposed to be going the posted truck speed limit, which is 60 miles an hour. Same can be said of regular cars, trucks, vehicles doing 75 miles an hour when the posted speed limit is 70. Another suggestion for this stretch of highway is to have signage that is already present at the US 395 El Topio West Blanton intersection, which flashes amber yellow when traffic is entering the intersection from El Topio West and Blanton. On various comments from Facebook, there have been suggestions of doing frontage roads. There's an idea floating around about doing multi-lane roundabouts, like on Highway 17 near Moses Lake, on US 2 in Airway Heights, Deer Park, and Spokane. However, those I feel would only work if the speed limit was lowered from 70 to 45-50. I thank you again for seeing this as an issue that needs to be resolved. So hopefully that other families won't have to grieve losing loved ones like we did. Michael Robitelli, Mayor, City of Colotis. I'm sure that you would want to hear that. And then the last one that I was going to read was some pretty big community leaders, community members in the farm community, Dave and Angie Manarola. I'm sure you'd like to hear from them. To our community leaders, our names are David and Angie Manarola. We reside at 6800 North Glade Road, Pasco, Washington. We live about 6.5 miles outside of Pasco. As most of you know, Glade Road runs parallel to US 395, and we can see it from our home. As farmers who have lived in our current house for the past 22 years, it is very concerning to us the amount of wrecks, often with fatalities, that are happening on the stretch of US 395 north of Pasco until about Sagemore Road. We constantly try to find new land to rent within a 15-mile radius of our home. With that being said, we refuse to rent any land east of US Highway 395. We will not risk our equipment and, more importantly, our family and employees trying to cross over the freeway. It is just much too dangerous for us to justify doing it. We've given up many opportunities to rent land on the east side of the freeway because of this choice. Another way the amount of traffic and continuing wrecks on this stretch of freeway has impacted our farming businesses with our hay trucks. We haul alfalfa and Timothy hay for one farmer who lives on the east side of the freeway. Our employees who truck for us have been instructed to find an alternate route into Pasco that keeps them from having to cross over or make a left onto US Highway 395. These two reasons have been made by our business simply because of the dangers that the US Highway 395 poses. The stretch is obviously not safe. The domino effect of businesses like ours not using US Highway 395 as often as before and using Glade Road and Taylor Road has more trucks and farm equipment on them. That results in them being more dangerous as well. As far as both of us being lifelong citizens of Franklin County, we'd like to also address the impact the wrecks are taking on our mental health. We have a direct view of the Country Mercantile on the intersection where it is located. We see emergency lights at least twice a week in that area. Knowing our kids and other family members as well travel that stretch of US Highway 395 every day is very anxiety-inducing. Also, having the knowledge that several of our friends are involved with law enforcement and first responders, it concerns us about the toll these wrecks are taking on each one of them. Solutions are never simple or inexpensive. However, who can put a price on a life? One solution would be to take the median crossings out of the middle of the highway. This would inconvenience people, but should make it safer. Another and possibly better solution would be to put lights in each intersection all the way up until Country Mercantile. This would naturally reduce the speed limit and traffic would have to stop. It would take moving north up US 395 for that stretch of road, maybe an extra 5 to 10 overpasses. But that would be a project that would take years to complete in our community, as well as out-of-town people need solutions now. Thank you for your time and commitment to this issue. And then we had a supplemental from Mrs. Manarola too, saying the same thing. I'd like to address the wrecks and fatalities that are occurring on US 395 north of Pasco. I live on Grade Road and see it's a beautiful view, I must admit. However, too often it becomes horrifying when all the emergency lights start shining. And then there's a little segment here. Her daughter used to work at the Country Mercantile. She says, I prayed every day that she would make it across the freeway coming and going to work. My perspective is that, for the most part, it isn't impatience or distracted drivers that are causing these wrecks. I think it's the immense growth that the Tri-City area has seen in the last several years. We're an agricultural county that has a lot of population heading down US 395. As far as possible solutions, slowing down the traffic by reducing speed limits seems like an easy and relatively easy fix. It would reduce the speed to 55 all the way up to Sagemore and then encourage law enforcement to enforce the new speed limits. Traffic lights would also naturally slow down the traffic. Overpasses would be ideal, however, that would be years in the making and something needs to be urgently done. So I read that and I pass that along to the panel. And I wanted to say that we really appreciate all the folks that have spoken today, who have given heartfelt testimony. I think I looked across the dais here, and it was hard on some occasions to keep dry eyes. And I think that shows the commitment to where we're going. The last thing I'd like to say is that at least for for the Franklin County perspective, and I don't want to speak for the legislators or at all, but from the Franklin County perspective, you have directed me and you've directed the county to not sit idly by on this. That this is a top priority, and that we're not just here to check off a box or to host a meeting or to, hey, you know, how many people have been at meetings where you put a blue dot on your favorite idea and a yellow dot on your second favorite idea and an orange dot on your third? This is none of that. This is as serious as it gets, and the commissioners, and I want to thank the legislators and federal representatives too, but when we pitched the idea of meeting, it was like, I think 4 days ago, and this is the reception that happened, and I think that speaks volumes. Ladies and gentlemen of the panel, I don't know if there's any further like closing statements you'd like to make, but I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I think maybe Matt, start with you and work our way back down. Any closing thoughts?
Thanks, Commissioner. Just wanted to thank the community, and it really does matter. We are listening more to get that action plan going forward. We do need your help, and I would even argue, get that in comments now. So send us your email, send us your comments now. The hearings, the logistics, those kind of things we're prepping for right now. So this is the time to act. This is the time to respond. This is time for action. This is what we need your help to do. We're moving forward with this, and at least from the 8th District, we're supporting Franklin County with the lead efforts on that, and it's committed right here in public that this is our #1 priority from the 8th District to move forward on the Transpo plan and support Representative Clicker and Senator Dozier kind of leading this effort for us today. I would also offer, we have done in the past special Transpo visits. So to your point about Farmer for a Day and some other opportunities, we will invite the governor as well as everybody else down. That's another commitment. Happy to bring in federal agencies as well. I'm sure we can coordinate that and synchronize those support. And as we're writing down some of the other ideas, putting it together for that actionable plan to come out in the next couple of weeks with the leadership in Franklin County and supporting that as well. But again, thank you for your time. Send us those stories. Those stories do matter to move the needle on any kind of budget requests, any debates, and anything we can do to support this whole plan moving forward. Again, thank you very much today.
And just to reiterate a little bit more on my opening comments, and again, thank you so much. I mean, this is the stories that we need to hear, but in my opening comments, I talked about the 2 intersections in the 16th District now that we represent that I think are some of the most dangerous ones. Again, Tank Farm Road and that stretch on 395. It's unfortunate that it takes many fatalities to be able to get the ear of hopefully those people that make decisions. And I think that's what's so important right now. I think just the fact that we hear from you helps solidify the need to do something with this stretch of corridor. And I think a lot of your comments were very good. I think we all understand that overpasses are something that takes quite a while down the road to get and funding to get down the road. You're absolutely right. It takes years to build. We need to look at the immediate ways to solve this issues. It was nice hearing from our retired Washington State Patrol troopers that have been in this area. I didn't realize, I knew that we were down on the numbers of patrolmen, especially after the COVID crisis that we had. But that's another really important aspect I think that we need to look forward with is finding ways to fund and get more of these patrolmen out there. And but with that, contact my office anytime. I'll tell you, most everybody, well, maybe not most everybody, but a lot of you have my cell phone because I've never changed it in 40 some odd years. And so I'm easy to get hold of if you contact my office and need me to get back to you, which I usually will do with a phone call. I'm more than happy to listen to any other concerns. Thank you.
Again, I really appreciate it, and working with Commissioner Baumann for us to try to put this together was really important to us. You know, and unfortunately, over the years, we just with this legislative district change, we've Senator Dozier, myself, and Representative Rude took in that whole area this last year. So we're trying to catch up because so many of the projects that each legislative district works on are kind of projects within their own district. But we do, as we're working with the other legislative districts, the one thing that was kind of a common thing was it really wasn't it was a priority, but not like some of these others. And sadly, unfortunately, it's taken these recent accidents and fatalities, and it is now at the top of the list. And it shouldn't be that way, but I've experienced that with Highway 12, the four-laner. Now we're on the last phase, Phase 8, Highway 12. It's the most dangerous portion of the two-laner of all of them. It should have been done first, and now it's the most expensive, and we've just been pounding away trying to get this to find this thing into fruition. So we are going to work on this short term, and but having your stories and your comments, it is helpful. I can take them back with me. They had a transportation tour this last year with the Joint Transportation Committee that came through the area. And again, because it wasn't as much of a priority at the time, because it was prior to these fatalities, I would assume by next year, we're going to be looking more at these long terms with this transportation committee and get these people over here. And it is going to be on our priority list. But we're going to work closely with DOT and the rest of the legislative community and find some short term, like what Commissioner Didier is talking about. We got to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you again for offering some solutions and for just being here today. We know it takes time out of your day, and none of us up here are engineers that I know of. So we don't have the solutions ourselves, and we're just like you. We have children, we have grandchildren. Well, I have grandchildren, but so I won't speak for everyone else. But with that said, we can come up with our own solutions as well, but we want to make sure we hear from you to get ideas. It takes a village, it takes collaboration, and this is why we wanted to come together as such. And it is very important to hear from you as well, because you may commute different ways. And like myself, I go to South Landing, I cut through, go to Mercantile. Love the place, not gonna stop going there, and I take my kids there, my grandkids now, and we really enjoy it, and we want it to be safe for everybody, not just for my family, but for everyone's family as our area continues to grow. And obviously you've heard from even Adam Lincoln from the Port of Pasco, it's not gonna stop growing. So we definitely need to make it a little safer for everyone. There's going to be short-term solutions that we've been working on. Myself and Rep. Clicker as well have been working on some, and we will push those along as well and continue to work with WSDOT and with WSP to make sure that these short-term solutions do some of the good work that we wanted to do by making it safer for in the meantime while we're planning the long term. So again, I appreciate everyone's input and for being here and your patience with us as well, because we can't just wave a magic wand in Olympia and make things happen. So thank you.
Thank you to our legislators for being here with us today, and the representatives from our national legislators. Thank you also for being here today. To State Patrol, to our first responders that come up and shared with us, and as well to the rest of the community that shared stories, thoughts, and idea. Thank you to Department of Transportation for being here. And I just wrote down some notes here and some of the ideas. This is certainly not a comprehensive list, but some of the issues that we're facing is distracted driving that has continued to increase over the years. Speed is an issue. Differential speeds. We have ag traffic as well as freight traffic and just commuters that are traveling 70 miles an hour, and you might have a tractor driving 18 miles an hour. And we just had a terrible accident. There had to be a driver extracted from a vehicle here a couple of weeks ago. Traffic volume has continued to increase. That's some of the issues that we're facing. This is some of the fix options that I heard today. Traffic lights, overpasses, flashing lights in advance, warning when there's somebody in the intersection, education, an all-agency approach, everybody working together, everybody sitting down together, not dissimilar to what we're doing today, and that goes from the enforcement agencies to the agencies that plan what our traffic looks like in the future. Roundabouts, an R-cut intersection, that's a new one for me. I'm definitely going to look into that. Jared Balcom shared with us today the idea of shutting off Foster Wells Road as a crossing because we have access to frontage roads from that intersection, that we have an opportunity to go to the overpass that's just to the south of there, reduce the number of intersections and potentially use frontage roads. That hadn't thought about that one much. Another one that our port director brought to us is a bypass highway. That's been talked about for many, many years in this community, but as far as I'm aware, there's no action necessarily been taken. A bypass area around the area, so there was lots of ideas brought today. There is not a magic bullet, a magic pill to fix this. It's going to be very expensive to do this. There's short-term options, there's long-term options, and I just thank everybody for being participating in this. Please, before you leave, make sure that you sign the sign-in sheet so that we can provide that to our legislators, so that when they do have a committee hearing or something like that, that we've provided them access, that they can reach out to us, and please say something. Get in there and testify. If you can't be in there in person, which is far more impactful if you're in person, if you can't be there in person, please sign in, and there is remote testimony available. And thank you again for being here. And step one, chapter one, and we got lots of work to do. So thank you.
I too want to thank our state senators and representatives that are here today. Thank you very much for coming here. I want to thank the federal senator and House representatives there from their staff that are here. Thank you very much. But most importantly, I want to thank the people that live here that are here today. This is your government, we the people, and we must let our voice be heard. So please, don't think you got to go to Olympia. You can go remote and spread the word. Because I had several people that wanted to be here today that couldn't be here today because of other obligations. It's up to us that are in the room right now to spread the word. Let's be a voice that can't be ignored anymore. Thank you.
And I want to say a quick thank you to the panel. I know that for our legislators, you're gearing up to get ready to go back over there. You've got the holiday season, reorganization, very similar to the board here. But mainly, and on behalf of the panel here, they wanted me to wish you, especially coming out of a meeting like this, just a safe travel today, a happy holiday season, and a thank you very much for being here. And that will conclude our public hearing today. Thank you.